Ohio, of course, had primaries last night, and we know about Mitt Romney versus Rick Santorum, and Romney squeaks it out. But there was actually more interesting races there. They had redistricted Ohio, so some Democrats were running against each other. And of course, it being a primary, there was Republicans running against each other as well. But two very famous Democrats, Dennis Kucinich and Marcy Kaptur, two of the most liberal members of Congress, were facing each other because of the redrawn district. And it turned out Marcy Kaptur won. Now, did you know that Marcy Kaptur is the longest serving woman in Congress? And she stands to, if they win back the House, be the senior member of the Appropriations Committee, a very, very powerful committee which hands out money in the House. And for someone that progressive to be the head of that committee would be fantastic. Now, Dennis Kucinich, not having him in the House anymore, of course, for a lot of liberals in the country is a huge loss. And look, you know, I have some mixed feelings about Dennis Kucinich from time to time. He drives me crazy with some of the far out stuff that he says. But on the other hand, he has been a lion in fighting against George Bush when no one else was doing it, fighting back against the Iraq War, etc. So it's a tough loss to lose Kucinich here. But you know what? It was made a little tougher by his speech after he found out that he had lost. It's supposed to be a concession speech, but this is what he said.
Now, I would like to be able to congratulate Congresswoman Kaptur, but I do have to say that she ran a campaign in the Cleveland media market that was utterly lacking in integrity, with false statements, half-truths, misrepresentations. I hope that is not the kind of representation she would provide to this community.
Damn, those are really harsh words. And, you know, you'd have to get into the nitty-gritty of that campaign to know who's right and wrong about that. But after you've lost, and here is one of the few remaining liberals in Congress, it's not the direction that I would have gone in. And part of my, you know, reservations with Dennis Kucinich. And, you know, people sometimes say, oh, like people like Feingold and Kucinich. And I think that bothers me because Feingold is almost always on the right side of an issue. And he's not a person that is necessarily a knee-jerk liberal. And he's been right about how he had to go after al-Qaeda, even before 9/11. He's, you know, well-versed in intelligence. He was right about how we should have focused on Afghanistan war in the first place. He was not against that war. So he's a sophisticated, nuanced guy who I think makes great arguments. Kucinich, like I said, has a great role to play and has been a lion in some of the very, very important issues. But sometimes says things that, you know, that don't necessarily wind up helping the cause. And here, you know, look, it was a tough loss for him because it was mainly Kaptur's district. I mean, yes, it was totally redistricted, but she hung on to a big chunk of her former district and why she won. But after it's already over, I wouldn't have gone in this direction. So I don't think that speech helped anybody, including Dennis Kucinich. Now, on the Republican side of the Kaptur Kucinich fight, Samuel Wurzelbacher won the nomination. By the way, the guy who lost to him has got to be embarrassed because Samuel Wurzelbacher is Joe the Plumber. So Joe the Plumber will run against Marcy Kaptur, and she should take him to the woodshed. She's a massive favorite. It is a very liberal district. When you combine Marcy Kaptur and Dennis Kucinich's districts, that's going to be a very, very liberal district. And Joe the Plumber walks in there like, doop, 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 doop. Hey, what's going on? Oh, who am I up against? You're up against an ass kicking. That's who you're up against.